What is going on, everybody? My name is Professor Parks, and today is the very first episode of Parked and Rekt. It is my podcast. It's something where I'm just gonna hang out, chill, talk to people. I really like to talk to people one-on-one. Sometimes the gaming gets me a little distracted. I have my friend here today, StandUpGuyLive. He's also a Twitch streamer. He's a T6 complete injury para, so he's just like me. We're both in chairs. We sort of live a very, very similar life. What's going on, buddy?
Not much, man. How are you?
Good, man. Good. It's really good to have you on here for the first episode ever.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm really glad that you put this together and invited me to come on for the very first one.
Of
You
course,
gotta set some precedents here.
That's it, man. If anybody was gonna be on this episode, it was gonna be you. All right.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, if anybody knows or doesn't know StandUpGuyLive, he streams on Twitch as well. He streams at the same time as me, around 8 p.m., 7 p.m. on Twitch. Recently, you've been pretty busy, though. You've been renovating your house, right?
Yeah, on and off for about the last 2 years or so.
Okay.
Obviously, you gotta do big projects one at a time.
Yeah, it's expensive. It's expensive, especially when you're renovating for like wheelchair accessibility. Like, we can't even fit through most doorways.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't have any doors in my house. Like, my girlfriend hates it. Like, when we first started dating, I was like, damn, I gotta get a door on the bathroom. Like, I don't have a bathroom door, so I put up like a little sheet. I don't know, I guess it gives like a little bit of privacy, but that's what we got going on, right? So
yeah, hey, it works.
Yeah. What do you have going on renovation wise other than doorways, right?
Yeah, and so a lot of that plays into when you're looking for a house. So like finding a ranch styled house or something that is accessible. Where we live down in Virginia in the mountains, it's nearly impossible to find just like a flat house. Most of them are split levels. So you go inside and it's automatically, you got to go up a flight of stairs or down a flight of stairs. So finding something that was not like $300,000 right off the bat is very difficult to fit in our budget and what the wheelchairs needs were. We ended up landing this house, and if you were to look at this house before we bought it and said, yes, a guy in a wheelchair is going to buy this thing, you'd be like, hell no. This is the last house that somebody in a wheelchair would buy.
How long ago did you buy it?
November 2019.
Oh, a couple years ago. Okay.
So we've had a little bit of time. Front step to get in, there was just like one big curb step and then a little concrete platform and one more to get into the house. Easy, nice little ramp thing to add on, not a big deal. We gutted the hall bathroom. So there's one bathroom that was kind of the main accessible one that we were like, we need to get this ready first, and we can work on the other projects at a later date. And it had the like 1950s, 1960s style cream colored sink and like this puke green bathtub.
No.
And it was, you looked at it and you're like, this just says grandparents, like 100%.
Right,
so
right.
My dad and Sarah's dad came over and they got some sledgehammers and a steel saw and started gutting everything. And we took out the countertop that was underneath the sinks. That way I can like go under the sink better.
Oh, cool. That's a great idea.
So yeah,
every time I go to the bathroom to brush my teeth, I go, poof, I hit the sink, and then I had to like adjust myself forward so I can get towards the sink and brush my teeth. You know,
you gotta like push your knees apart just so you can scoot forward enough on the chair.
Yeah, so that taking out that underneath area of a bathroom sink is an amazing idea for anybody that's in a wheelchair. You just tuck underneath there. That reminds me of the hospital. I remember in the hospital, like, it'd be like right here for me, fucking, you know, like all the little tables were really high.
Yeah, so it was hard to find kind of that free floating wall mounted sink because everything wants to come with the vanity, which I get. If you're able-bodied, you don't need the leg room.
Looks nice. Yeah, storage.
And we ended up finally found one. We had one in mind that actually Sarah's aunt has a vacation home. It had the greatest sink that I will ever see in my life for wheelchairs. It was free floating. The sides of it, you'll find free floating ones that are just the bowl, but then you have no counter space. So you don't have anything underneath it to put your toothbrush, whatever.
Yeah.
You have nothing on the sides. You got to add like a cabinet on the wall. This had an extended countertop on both sides, the back of the sink, and had like a towel rack underneath it that was kind of like bent at the curvature of the bowl.
Oh, wow.
Which at first I was like, oh man, that still kind of defeats the purpose of having it open because now my knees are going to hit that. It didn't.
I like
I
that.
could still get up to the sink
Yeah,
perfectly,
I
and you still
like
have access.
that.
And I was like, where can I find this sink? And of course, it was like a $2,000 or $3,000 sink from some bougie place, and they only sold it 1 year, and they discontinued it after they made their 10 sinks or whatever.
Yeah.
We found something that was pretty close, so it still has some side room, and made it work.
So at
We
least you
bought two
guys
of
found the idea of what you guys wanted, and that gives
Yeah.
like a great idea to even like our listeners. Like, if you are wheelchair bound at all, man, like taking out that underneath vanity is such a great idea. I know the ladies, you guys like all your storage, all your crap, but honestly, find another way to put it. Find somewhere else to put it, because this is going to make our life so much easier. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like this is awesome. That is, I never thought about that, and that is something that bothers me every morning. Even shaving, I'm like, oh god, you know, like if I'm really tired, my arms really tired that day, I don't want to be like bumping back and forth, doing my thing. Right? That's a great idea, man.
Mhm.
Great idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I had obviously in college, just living in an apartment, I didn't get a gut the sink like we did here. And so if you're trying to brush your teeth after you've been out of the bars with friends and stuff, pushing yourself to the edge of your seat and trying to brush your
Little
teeth at
wobbly,
that point, man, I fell on the floor too many times
little
for
wobbly,
that.
little wobbly.
Yeah, you learn from your experiences, and
Yeah.
yes, we gutted that. We got rid of the tub completely, so we made it into a complete walk-in shower, and so it's got I would say probably about an inch and a half, little tile lip from the floor into the shower. That way, it can retain like a splash wall,
Water.
or
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
basically just keep the bathroom from getting flooded. We added a shower bench that folds up, so if you wanted to, you
A
could fold it up, but you
built-in
just
shower bench that can.
got a
Oh,
built-in shower bench. And then Sarah's dad works with fire systems, like fire safety things. So he was
so
good
this
with
was all to
piping and
code.
putting
This
stuff.
was all to
So
code, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
he ended up taking the input for the regular shower part to the tub, splitting it, and then running it along the wall. So now as I'm seated, I can reach without having to lean or like try and brace myself with one hand and reach for the wand on the other. Um, Easily accessible just from the shower bench over on my right. I can adjust the water temperature, and you've got the shower wand right there.
That's
And we added
perfect.
a waterfall one, the like heavy duty, crazy waterfall shower heads.
Okay.
I'm upset
What
because
is
you
that,
didn't put it
man?
above the bench, and that's something that
So
I
you're like,
regret.
this waterfall is a little bit away. You're like, kind of lean over to the
Yeah,
waterfall a
it's like
little bit.
it's just out of my reach that if I were to lean, like I could get the top of my head,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't be able to get both the shower head and the shower wand.
Mm.
And I was like, man, we should have flipped it and put it on top of the seat. So,
Now you know.
hindsight, but
Now you know.
it's great. It's a great shower. And
That's awesome, man.
yes, we renovated that. And then the master shower, which I talked to you a little bit about,
Earlier, yeah.
was it's got two steps going down into it, and it's a beautiful addition of the house that they added at some point, probably in the late '90s, early 2000s or so,
So the
and
steps are going into the shower,
into the shower.
which
So
sounds beautiful.
they basically took like
Very
what I
inaccessible.
imagine used to be a window section on the backside of the master bedroom, and they cut a hole, made it into a doorway that then leads out all into this new addition. So it's got this really nice area for a bathroom. It's got a sink, vanity section, ton of closet space. And then you kind of loop around a wall, and then there's the toilet. And this is a little strange. The toilet sits facing down into the shower. So the whole
I don't
like
understand that. Like
it's
you're
weird.
sitting leaning forward?
No, no, no. Like if you were sitting on the toilet
Yeah.
and you're looking straight, you are looking down into the shower,
Okay.
which it's your off the master bathroom. It's not a big deal. It's your
Mhm.
home. It's just a little strange.
It's different.
So
It's
when we
different.
renovate that toilet's getting moved, so you're not like
Looking into the shower.
weird thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, that wall that it sits behind too doesn't. It's not a structural support wall, so we're just gonna gut that, open the whole thing up.
Cool, man.
But
Open
obviously with a
concept's
wheelchair, I
perfect.
can't. Yeah, I can't get down into the shower. I could get down in it, but now I've got the water running, so good luck keeping my chair from getting wet while I'm trying to
Yeah,
shower and then
yeah,
get.
yeah. And plus you got
Uh,
you had to get would you have to get off your chair and then kind of dip down a little bit onto the steps sort of?
so they're not super steep and they're decently wide. And when I was going through my whole cancer rehab stuff early on, I was at a rehab hospital and I was there for an extended stay, and they actually
That
had
was
a
when you got
guy.
hurt? You were at a rehab hospital specifically?
Yeah, so we were
Wow.
at UVA in Virginia, University of Virginia, and the Children's Hospital there had a facility called Kluge, that was only like 8 to maybe 12 rooms for patients. So small little separate rehab hospital affiliated with the main hospital. So people who were severely injured that are now permanent paraplegics, if
Yeah.
they're going through like traumatic brain injuries, or car accidents, kind of thing, things that they knew the hospital knew these patients need extra rehab, but they don't need to stay in the hospital and have like 24-hour nurse support kind of thing. It was more of outpatient styled inpatient, where you have more access to physical therapists, occupational therapists, rec
Right on hand.
therapists.
Right there.
Yeah, just right. And you
Perfect.
still had nurses and stuff, but the it's not like you're right next door to an intensive care unit kind of thing.
Sounds
Uh,
bougie. My
dude, it was
hospital was
cool.
fucking ghetto.
It was cool. It was really neat.
That's awesome.
Um, but the one of the coolest things was there was a guy, his name was Scotty. I don't know anything about what his actual credentials were. Um, he was just like what I would call like that cool uncle, like that
Uncle
persona of
Scott.
he's just got like the vibes going on, just energetic, ready to go. Whatever you say you want to do, he's like, "Yes, I'm here for it. How do we make it happen?" um, Completely able-bodied guy, but his position was to train you how to do things in your wheelchair, which is like,
Yes,
why don't
wheelchair
things?
training, man. We had that
Yes.
too. We had that too.
Okay, cool. In
But it
America,
wasn't
that doesn't
very,
exist.
it was like, here's a curb, get over the curb kind of thing. And that was kind
Yeah.
of like wheelchair skills, or they called it wheelchair skills, is what
Mhm.
they called it. And like it would teach us like to do the I don't know, like the leaning backwards and be stable about it, and not to like
Yep.
go back and forth to do it, just do it on the spot kind of thing, like stuff like
Mhm.
that. I don't know. I think what you're talking about is probably really cool though.
It was
Scotty's
that, but
Scotty
then
sounds pimping.
took it further. So we
Cool.
started with like the basic find your center of gravity so that you can be comfortable popping a little wheelie, which then plays into like popping a curb
Yep.
when there's no curb cuts, kind of thing. Um, But one of the things that he taught me was how to go downstairs forward on a wheelie, or if you have railings, you can flip around backwards and top one at a time. Um, and then obviously, if it's a narrow stairwell that is close to the width of your chair with two railings and you have a seat belt, if you've got the upper body strength, you can actually do a wheelie and then
Yeah.
pull the railings. Um, I quickly got rid of my seatbelt because I was like, screw
Me
this
too.
thing.
Me too.
I'm like, this isn't a car. I feel weird that I'm like strapped into it all the time.
Did you ever get in
Uh,
trouble from like I don't know if you ever took transportation, but like I had to take like they called it a handy
yes,
van, right? Like a public
yes.
transportation that was cheaper for us. And they would give me shit for not having my seatbelt. And then I remember I'd have like I'd have my seatbelt strap and I would just put it on me, tuck it under my ass, right? Go onto the handy van. They'd be like, give me a seatbelt. I'm like, yeah, there it is, yada, yada.
Mm.
The second I get off the handy van, just fucking rip it off and put it
Yeah,
in my
yeah. No,
pocket and
we
move
had
on.
like an accessible school bus that the lift was in the back of it.
Wild.
Um, and so we actually fought for the school district to get a full size bus. It was like we didn't need to be on a separate short bus because that comes with extra stigmas.
Yeah,
And
it
it's like, no, I
does.
want to ride
The
the
old
bus with my
rocket.
friends. Like I just want to. I should still be able to fight over who's got the back seat, right? Like the cool kids are in the back now.
I don't
They
want to
had
be
to
on the
give up the back
rocket.
seat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But the back of it had like the full-on clamps that they would hook onto your chair, and you have to strap your chair into it. And it was like, I'm in a manual wheelchair with, at the time, most of my chairs didn't even have brakes.
Wow,
And
yeah.
they would be like, "Yeah, you got to strap in the chair." And I was like, halfway through the bus ride, hit a bump on a turn, and my chair's flipped over in the back.
Mm.
And I'm like, it doesn't matter if it's strapped in or not; it flies everywhere. And they added a seatbelt on the back seat, and they wanted me to wear the seatbelt. And I was like, hold up, you want me to put on a regular seatbelt like you would in a car? You know, that sounds safe, but every other seat doesn't have a seatbelt. So why do I
On the school
have?
bus?
Yeah, and
Hey
it
man,
was
they
just
want
a
to
weird.
protect us. We're special.
Yeah,
Come on.
yeah,
You
and I'm sure you've
deserve
made
it.
this joke.
Did
Like,
you
what?
ever
Like,
did
we're
you
already
ever get off of your
disabled.
chair though and go onto like one of the seats and just be like, there, strap my chair in. I'll sit here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I would
Yeah.
just hop out of it, and
Yeah.
or if I was just going from like one stop to the next, I would just stay in my chair and like hold on to the seats. And
Yeah.
same thing, you would like show them the seatbelt, and then of course you unstrap it.
How long have you been in your wheelchair? I forgot to ask you that.
Um, I am 28, so
Me too. Yeah.
18 years, 18, 19, depending on what you want to look at.
Wow. So this is more of a like you've been in a chair longer than you haven't been in a chair.
Yes,
Wow, that's wild.
100%.
What happened?
Do you want me to?
Yeah, what happened with your story, man? Like explaining it?
Yeah, so grew up playing baseball. Very athletic kid. I was a left-handed pitcher, a pitcher
Ooh, I
first base.
pitched myself. I played a little first, little catcher.
Yeah,
I
I
played
dabbled a
ball.
little bit with catcher, just to see like what the opposite of
And then
what
your
my
knees
position.
hurt, and you're like, "Fucking hate this position so
Dude,
goddamn
yes, I
much."
hated. I was like,
I
this is
played baseball
awful.
my whole life, bro. I hated it.
Yeah, I grew up and was actually really gifted with baseball. I enjoyed it, loved it. My dad was a coach for Little League and everything. And uh, growing up with a kid, like with my peers and stuff, I was typically like we were running the mile or something. I was one of the first 5 kids to finish. Like I was very quick. I was
Quick
athletic. And then all of a
lead
sudden,
off.
around I guess 8 or 9, I started like tripping a lot. And we live. I mean, we live on the mountain, so I'd come back in from playing with my brother, and I have like scratches all over my knees. My legs are all bloody, and my mom's like, "What happened?" I was like, "Oh, I just tripped on a rock and fell into some bushes or something." It was legitimate. Like I was just falling. And she's a nurse who actually graduated from UVA, which is the hospital that we going to.
No way.
So
Oh.
that was kind of cool. And anyway, so she had been a nurse for years, and the clumsiness started to stick out to her as more than just a preteen clumsy growth spurt. You don't know what your body's doing yet, kind of thing. And so with baseball, I started like striking out a lot more. I started not making it to first base on like a ground ball when I should have easily outran it. So like my performance was almost degrading, and it was in a weird manner, and it was enough that my mom was like, "Let me take a video of you just playing." She didn't tell me about it, more casually, just so it's more candid. Um, and showed it to some of the doctors around the hospital, and eventually they were like, "You need to go see a neurologist," which obviously somebody knowing medical stuff, like you don't want to hear those words.
No, never.
Ended up going up to DC in 2001, probably like summer, fallish, and had an MRI done, and we found a 5-inch tumor lodged within my spinal.
Okay.
So very large, like 5 inches for a 9-year-old. Like that's a
Big,
pretty massive
big.
tumor.
You're a small
Um,
person when you're 9.
yeah, and I was not a big kid either. Like I was short and skinny to begin with. Um, so they actually got that. September of 2001 was a shit show for my family, because obviously, yeah, 9/11 happened. That same week, they found out that they got the call about the tumor.
Was it
So my
MRI and
parents,
right away they found
yeah,
it?
my parents mentally were, I can't even imagine everything they were dealing with. Um, I didn't understand the full scope of what I was
Sure, you're
basically what
9
they
years
were
old.
telling me about, but um, 2001 was a little finicky. So we ended up doing going up to UVA. My mom found the surgeon up there, and he basically kind of told us, like, from the MRI, because the tumor is so massive, there's two scenarios of what the cancer is going to be like. And they don't know just based on the scan until they get in, but it's either going to be like taking gum and I stick it on this desk, where you go in, you're like, oh, yep, I see it. Yeah, it's a lot of gum, but you scrape it off, the desk's still fine, the gum's gone. That's a good scenario.
That's
Or it's
removing the
like taking
tumor.
gum
Yeah,
and it's going to be like gum stuck in your hair.
fair enough. Yeah, yeah.
You can try and pull it, you can get some of the chunks, but you're not going to get it out with
Is
really
that how he
without
explained
damage.
it to you? That is a wild
That's
description.
well, I don't
That's
know if
probably
that's
the
how he
best case.
that's the analogy I've
Best.
always
Yeah,
had.
that's the best analogy I've ever heard.
Yeah, well, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Um,
You came up with that.
yeah, that's how
Oh,
I've
okay.
always
Okay. Yeah.
explained
Yeah.
it.
I
Yeah, I'm
like
sure
that.
him
Yeah.
talking to my mom was like get more medically
Right.
accurate with terminology and stuff.
I always talk my with because I'm talking about my nerves, how they were stripped, right? And you think of
Mhm.
a nerve as like a wire, and how you can strip like the rubber part of the wire off, and that would be like the myelin sheath, and then underneath the wire or underneath the rubber you would see the actual wire copper, and that's
Yeah.
like your nerve. And if that's exposed or hurt at all, then that's where you start getting nerve damage. That's how I
Mhm.
explain it, like a wire.
Yeah, that's
That
great.
is a sick explanation, though,
Yeah.
for such a
I've got
traumatic situation. So yeah,
I've got another good analogy I'll get to as we get further, but that one's my favorite, by the way.
yeah, that's a good analogy.
So, they were like, we don't really know which of these two it's going to be until we actually go in, and so it was like October, November-ish at this point. They wanted to move pretty quickly on it, and they went in, and the tumor was like T9 to T12 was about where the tumor was. And so they went in and ended up being like gum in your hair. So it wasn't the good one that we were hoping for. And they did a good job. They got like probably close to an inch overall of the tumor, and they didn't want to do anything too evasive and damage the cord at that point, because they didn't know. They were like, let's do what we can. We'll recoup, and we'll have a further discussion with further our other doctors, our cohort, with family and such. So, but with that, and they did forewarn me with it. When you go in and you start touching the nerves, regardless of if you're actually damaging them, just the slightest little impression of a touch and exposing it to oxygen temporarily paralyzes those nerves. So the same thing with your
Exposure
cables.
to the
It,
cables.
it
Yeah, the
just
second you
exposing
take
it
off that myelin
automatically,
sheath.
yeah, they can't, the signals can't go. So they did forewarn me, like, hey, most likely you're going to wake up and you're either not going to have feeling, you're going to have weird feeling. Um, and so I basically woke up how I am now.
Yep.
Like I couldn't walk, I couldn't feel my lower body from basically chest or a woman's bra line down
Is that where
uh,
your kind of like
yeah,
your
yeah,
paralysis starts? Is chest line?
yeah, it's
Okay.
like top of the sternum ish. Uh,
T9, T9,
they were T6, so
T6.
I'm
Okay.
higher, yeah, higher than where the tumor was.
Yep.
Um, Following spring, we ended up doing more intensive radiation. So that way they could actually focus more on the inner part around the cord rather than just the bulky stuff on the outside. And it did good. It was the treatment was going as planned. It was feeding in the right direction and kind of decaying the cancer cells. But I got really, really sick. Like I was only 64, 65 pounds at the time. I'm 9 years old.
Holy cow.
So I told you I was a small kid,
That is
skinny.
that is that
It's not a lot.
way
In,
smaller than I would have thought, though.
in about a week and a half, I went
Fighter.
from 64 to 46 pounds. Um, just because I couldn't hold down, like I'm literally eating bread over here for a snack tonight, but simple white bread would be too harsh on my stomach.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they couldn't give me the adult level, like, stomach nausea medication because I was so young and I was so lightweight. They were like, it's that it would make things worse than trying to help you. Um, so I was just like throwing up anything that I could eat. I got to the point that I was basically just dry heaving because I couldn't eat anything, and any liquid that I did have in me was just coming back up. So like wasn't maintaining fluids, wasn't maintaining nutrition. By far the worst part of my whole battle with cancer was with the radiation.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. Was that
so
9 or 10 years old that time?
yeah, so that's like not spring of 2002.
Okay.
So I turned 9 in September,
What is your
and
birthday?
the 13th.
Shut the fuck up. My birthday is the 12th.
I know. I saw
September
your
12th,
Instagram.
1992.
Yeah, man.
And your birthday is September 13th, 1992.
Day apart.
Yo, this is hilarious. That's my little brother.
Yeah,
My
man.
little brother, my little crippled brother. All right, I like it. Keep you going with your story, man. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So, yeah, so spring radiation was feeding off of the cancer pretty well. And they're obviously doing MRIs like every 2 to 3 weeks just to maintain and monitor everything. And they ended up started to notice that rather than just kind of going in and around the cord, it was actually starting to make its way up. So they started noticing new growth higher than where they had originally found the tumor. And then also they were tracking the expansion was much faster, more rapid than what they were tracking it to begin with. So um, that was spring, August of 2002. We went back in and basically repeated the first surgery. So they just debulked the tumor, focusing more on the top. And the whole purpose of it was not to get the cancer, it was just to stop the growth so that we could have more time for alternative options and discussion. Um, Unbeknownst to me, once they concluded that the cancer was actually growing up the spinal cord towards the brain, I was given 6 to 9 months to live. So that was
Wow.
probably it had to have been like February-ish of 2002.
10 years old.
They told
Fucking
us this, and I knew based on like my parents made sure that I was very involved in all the decisions. So when doctors came in to talk, it wasn't like, oh, hey, let's step out of the room. Jacob can stay in here, or it was never anything like that. It was Jacob sat in the room as the doctors are explaining things, and then they got my input. So I was pretty aware of what they were talking about. Um, as much as I think like a 9-year-old can in those kind of
That's really
situations. Like,
important, man. I don't think my mother ever let me have any decisions on anything in life, man. That's really important. That's your fucking life, man. It's
mhm.
awesome. Sick. To
Yeah.
an extent.
So very, very fortunate that like my mom as a nurse and having that
Medical
medical
field.
background saw that, hey, this is still Jacob's life. Like he needs to be part of these decisions. Now, at the end of the day, could my parents have been like, no, this is the route that we think is best because we're adults and
You could
understand
have.
this better? 100%.
Could
But
have.
they still would explain things that I didn't necessarily grasp when the doctors were talking about
That's
it.
respectable.
But they at some point somebody came in and they were like, hey, we were with the Make a Wish Foundation. Um, if you could have one wish, what would it be? And I think at the time they were like, you can't ask for money and you can't ask for like anything
More
illegal. I think there were
wishes?
the two stipulations. But 9-year-old me, you're gonna love this. I said, I want to go to a place with beautiful water and beautiful women. 9-year-old me was like, damn boy, all right, good taste, good taste.
Going to Mexico.
So they were
Going to
like, all right,
Colombia. Let's go,
we'll,
baby.
we're like, all right, let's see, but we'll get back to you here shortly, and we'll let you know what we can work with. And they came back and they were like, all right, do you want to go to the Bahamas for 9 days, or do you want to go to Hawaii for 14? And I was like, that's the dumbest question you could possibly ask. Obviously, the longer trip sounds
Hawaii.
better, and it's
Yeah.
Hawaii. So yeah, it was like March of 2002. They flew me and my family out to Hawaii and put us up in some crazy hotels, and we went to um, I think 5 of the islands. It was like 5 or 6 days on the different islands.
Yeah.
We had extended family in Maui, so I got to meet them, which was really cool. Um, Maui by far was my favorite island,
Yep.
and I don't know if that was because like we had that personal connection with them,
Family
like we
out there
knew
helps. They
family
know what's
members. We
going
got to
on
see
and stuff.
the, the non-touristy
Yeah.
beaches, um, or maybe Maui is just the superior island. I don't know. I have to go back as an adult and try it out,
For
but
sure. Yeah.
we did that, and then it was like the rest of the cruise was down to Mexico and then the States. Um, and so, not being a stupid kid, I knew that Make a Wish was for terminally ill children, or people in very extreme situations. So I knew the fact that they are offering this to me kind of puts into perspective what I'm really up against. Now, the pace at which I was expecting, like, if you would have asked me then 6 to 9 months to live, I would have been like, no, I was like maybe a couple years kind of.
The
And a
way you
couple years
felt, the
kind of,
way you felt is
yeah, like I again, like I was part of the discussions,
yeah.
so I knew that the discussions that we've had with the doctor plus Make a Wish, like I didn't know that I was terminally ill, but I knew that my cancer was very, very extreme and needed to be taken in that. Um, but I didn't think anything. Like I was still from day to day. That doesn't change what I was doing, what my decisions were, and stuff. So I just wanted to go to a place with beautiful water and beautiful women, and
That's it.
we made it happen.
That's it.
Um, yeah, so we repeated that first surgery in August of 2002, and they did a good job. Again, I woke up having to being paralyzed again. Um, Backtrack a little bit. I had in spring, I had learned to walk again, so I started with the wheelchair rehab and stuff at the rehab hospital, and started in the wheelchair. Learned to transfer, how to get dressed in the chair, how to
So this was
catheterize, how to go to the
after
bathroom.
this was after your
This was
vacation?
yeah. No, no. So this was kind of this is after the first surgery before radiation.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah. Um, I was in that rehab hospital for about 3 months or so.
Oh, that's it. Eh?
And
I know that's a long time, but I just felt like I was in my rehab for 7 months, and it just felt ridiculous.
mhm.
It was
Yeah, it was
fucking
about
wild.
2 to 3 months, I think, is from what I remember.
So
That's
you
a time
killed it,
frame.
man. You were a tough motherfucker growing up, dude. And with everything going on, like, holy, wild,
No,
bro.
no, I appreciate it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I kind of got a glimpse at what my current life is like because I had to learn these things. I had to learn how to get dressed. I had to learn how to go to the bathroom, how to transfer, how to if you fell out of your chair, how do you get back in it? How do you keep your chair from rolling away from you if you fall? How do you do all these things? Um, but ended up transferring from the chair to a walker to the arm crutches, and then eventually made it to the AFO leg braces, the like the hard plastic ones
Yeah.
for
Yeah, yeah. Where
structural
it's
support.
like just below your knees?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's
knee.
basically like a half
I have the
cast.
KFOs. I have the full
Uh,
I have the full knee,
yeah.
ankle,
If we
foot
take a break
brace.
during this, I think I have them here at the house, and I
Oh,
can
we'll
see if
take a
Sarah can
break.
get
I'll grab
that.
mine.
That
We'll
that'd
take
be
a
pretty
five
funny to
minute
show
break.
you.
I'll grab mine. You'll grab yours.
Yeah.
We'll show these fuckers
Um,
off.
but yes, it started like made it all the way back to walking and then played spring baseball,
Oh
which was really cool.
shit!
So I and people the thing is like everybody knew that oh I was the kid who's been fighting cancer because I was in the newspapers and like I've made this big comeback and I'm now playing baseball again. And again, I was really gifted at pitching. So they also knew that like he's no joke. Like you need to take him seriously, regardless that he has freaking cancer. So don't play pity on him when he's up to bat. Like you need to strike him out.
Hmm.
And I'll never forget. There's a kid who was he was a left-handed pitcher, and I was a left-handed batter too. And in little leagues, kids cannot pitch to left-handed people because 90% are right-handed. So
Yep.
you're just used to pitching to the right.
Yep.
He walked me 3 times in one game. Every single time he hit my calf,
Yeah.
and all of them, I just like I just took it like a champ. I'm just sitting there with the bat. I'm like, lost my bat, walked to first base kind of
Yeah.
thing. And after the game, he came up to me and he was like, dude, I'm like, I know everything you're going through and like that's hard enough. And I just hit you 3 times this game. And I laughed and I pulled up my pants and I'm wearing my AFOs.
Can't feel
And
it.
he was just hitting the hard plastic
That's
every time. So
so
like I didn't
funny.
feel
Imagine the
anything.
sound. I couldn't even think
It
of the
was
sound. Just crack, and you're just like, all right,
yeah, it
we'll
was just yeah,
move
and
on
like
to
it
first
sounded
base. Suck
bad.
that. Yeah, yeah.
And then also I had switched to first base during that game. And I remembered a guy hit a ground ball basically just like straight into the dirt, popped up straight to me. but it was enough that I had to kind of dive out of the way. So I lost my footing. And normally I would be like, oh, hop back on your feet, run to the first base, tag them out. But I knew from rehab, like, there's no way it's gonna take me way too long to stand back up. So I'm literally like army crawling the first base to like tag
To
him
tag
out
him
and
out.
barely got it. But I was like, oh, if this is any fruition of like my life, it as a
Just
disabled
army
person, this is
crawling,
the
eh?
first glance.
Oh
Um,
no.
yeah, so learned to walk, a lot of adaptive stuff along the way, repeated that surgery in the fall, started the whole process over. Woke up paralyzed, no feeling, no movement, whole shebang. Um, Not knowing to the extent of what we were going to do next, we were like, let's go ahead and start that rehab again. Started working on just the chair stuff, which again came very naturally at this point,
You
seeing I'd
already
already
done
done
it?
it.
Yep.
And I don't remember if I to what extent I gained mobility back, like walking or standing at that point. Because that was August, and we sat down with the doctors, and we were like, "What are our options at this point? Like, this cancer is life threatening. You obviously can't just go in and remove it, but if you have cancer in your leg that's threatening your life, you cut off the leg without hesitating. Do you ever go in and just cut out the spinal cord?" And luckily, my mom did her research, and my surgeon, Dr. John Jane Sr., who was 72, 73 at the time, 70, and is doing neurosurgery. Um,
He knows his stuff.
he knows his stuff. And if you
Yeah.
look him up, he educated or instructed, I think I read, said 92% of the world's neurosurgeons.
Amazing. Yeah, yeah.
So he is like top dog, knows his shit. Anything that he says, like, we will take, and we know that it is, I don't even need to look elsewhere. Um, and he had
Who's
a
that?
grandkid,
What was his name?
Dr. John Jane Sr.
John Jane Sr.
Yeah. And he has a son who is now a neurosurgeon who took over for his practice.
All right,
So
there you go.
now you got John Jane Jr. Um, but
John
yeah, so he
Jane
had a,
Jingleheimer Schmidt. Here we go.
yeah, exactly. So he had a grandkid about the same age as me, and this is something I kind of encourage families if they're ever going through these situations, is make it relatable to the doctors and their personnel as much as possible, because it is easy in our day-to-day lives, whether like what no matter what our job is, if it's a surgeon or a computer technician, making it relatable puts you back into the shoes of the other person. And she's like, if this is your grandson, what are you doing? And the other option was to go down to Duke and do an experimental chemo. Um, at one point during physical therapy early on, I don't know if it was after the first surgery, second surgery, I had an IV in my left wrist, which I'm not gonna be able to see it on camera. There's two scars right here from where I had the little IV port that was in my wrist, and you've got that plastic catheter that goes down
Yep.
into the vein.
Yep.
I I had the scissor brakes up underneath the chair, not the handle ones, but the ones underneath.
Yep.
And when I was locking that brake to transfer to the physical therapy table, somehow caught that little catheter in the brake. So when I transferred, it ripped it out of my arm. Blood went
Ah.
everywhere. And I was like, all right, two
Ah.
things from fuck IVs and fuck brakes. So
Fuck brakes. All right. All
my
right.
chair has no brakes on it because one, they cost like 200 and some dollars for something that I'm not going to use.
Yeah.
But also, I'm still mentally scarred from when I was 9 and had it ripped out of my. So when they said chemo needs to have that port put in, I was like, "Excuse me, you want to put in a permanent IV for the extended stay of all that
You
treatment?"
just
Like,
have
all right, next.
flashbacks to yanking that
Yeah.
thing out with your yeah.
So yeah, so like really, our main thought line was, if it's cancer in your leg, you cut it out.
Right.
Can you just go in and cut out the spinal cord? And he's like, it has been done. It has not been very successful. But depending on what your definition of success is for that surgery, it could be very successful because they have, um, at that time there were 6 medical recorded cordectomies of the spinal cord. So documented in medical history, there had only been 6 of them. all of them were over the age of like 40, mid 40s. So adults, not even a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
Uh, and the best case scenario is like you were looking to prolong life for about a year to 2 years. Now, 2 years in comparison to 6 to 9 months, that sounds awesome.
It was
Is that
awesome.
success?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really up to that interpretation. And I remember this was like I'm sitting in the room. We had just made. It's so weird how like memories stick with you. During
You
this
have a great
conversation,
memory, man. You have like dates, like everything. I have terrible memory, man. Great memory.
I mean, you know, if you said tell it enough, it starts
I
to
guess
stick
so.
for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I remember I was like, it was a pretty sunny day. It was probably like early morning, like 9, 10 o'clock, and I'd already gone to my rec therapist, and it was a nice day. So we made peanut butter pine cones. So you take a pine cone and you just cover it in peanut
Yeah.
butter and seed,
And seeds and
and it was
stuff. Yeah.
hanging outside our window. So I was like watching the birds and the squirrels fight over the pine cones. Dr. John Jane came in and his entourage of like 50 medical students and
Always.
world surgeons who were training underneath him, kind of thing, and all their white coats and stuff. Um, I remember him. He just like he sat down and just talked to us like we were just one of his family members, and was basically telling us like, all right, yeah, they kind of are successful, but like this is what we've done and what we've seen in the past. And I was like, I'm just gonna interrupt you guys, and I kid you not, I said that's not a good enough answer for this question. He's like,
Right.
and I don't know how to really explain the face that he made, but it was definitely like, what do you, I'm a neurosurgeon who's
This
been
is
doing
the
it
answer
my
you're
whole life.
getting, buddy. Like,
Yeah, like what? And I was like, but don't worry, like I'll be your success story. We're gonna beat this. We'll take care of it. I trust you. And he's like, all right, but like you know that you will like we'll go in and remove your cord. You won't be able to walk again. There won't be a transition. It's like it's a one and done. And I was like, I can live my life in a wheelchair. Yeah, some things going to be harder? Can I not play jump rope or I jump on the trampoline? Now I'm going to get screwed and I'm always the popcorn. Okay, yeah, that kind of sucks, but like make the
I'm
best of your
always
life.
the
And
goddamn colonel.
yeah, dude, God,
Always
it
the
sucked.
damn colonel.
Uh, Yeah, trampolines are nightmares for anyone.
Hilarious.
Don't be disabled and get on a trampoline. It just makes things worse. But yeah, I told him that was going to be his success story. So um, September 13th of that year, I turned 10, which is ironically Friday the 13th. It's a lucky number for me
Wow.
because 6 days later, we had my third surgery and cut out the spinal cord from T6 down. So they went higher than where the tumor was based on their scans. And there's a fine line that they were like, how high do you go? Because every vertebrae you go up at that point, like you're taking vital functionality away. So
Yeah,
you don't
yeah,
want to
yeah.
go too high because then you're now taking away extra stuff that you may not have needed to. But the other side of that is you don't want to go too low. You don't get all the cancer. It now comes back. You have to go back in again later. So they agreed that T6 was a good, it was about a I think it was about 2 full vertebrae above where they knew that there was cancer. So they assumed that there might be hints of it elsewhere they couldn't see.
And they just
So
wanted
they
to
did,
make sure.
and they went in.
Yeah.
And so this is that other analogy when people are like, so like explain what you have in your back. So I explain this like I work in education, so if I'll speak at like an anatomy class for high school kids and stuff, I'm like everybody knows what a Twinkie is, right? You don't need to know the anatomy of humans and the difference between the column and the vertebrae and the cord. Think of a Twinkie. So you got the yellow sponge and you got the cream filling. All right, so now take a knife and you're going to cut halfway into the Twinkie and you're going to cut straight down. Okay, you take that top half of the Twinkie sponge off. So now you've got a full one up top and you've got a half of the sponge with the cream filling. So they cut in, they took out the cream filling, and they took off the cap. And cancer free for 18 years now and living life to the best. So,
Hell
uh,
yeah, ding that bell,
yeah, ding
baby.
it
That's
up,
sick,
ding it
man.
up.
That's
So,
sick.
they did publish that surgery and all of, basically that path as an alternative to experimental chemo in severe patients with terminal cancers.
Oh, so that was
Um,
published and
and they,
everything.
yeah, they
Oh,
published it in the Journal for Neuroscience Spine in 2014. Um, Dr. John Jane Senior had just passed away right before publication of it, so they actually dedicated a section of it to him in the back. Um,
holy crap.
but it was, yeah, so like I'm published in a journal for neuroscience. Kind of cool.
Sweet,
Not
dude.
my words, but just me as a
No,
person.
you as like your situation. That's
Yeah,
so
just my
freaking
story.
wild,
And
man. What a story.
reading that,
What a
dude, it's,
story.
I mean, it's written for top of the line neurosurgeons. So like the terminology is well above and beyond any basic comprehension that I have, even with my extensive medical background. But reading through that, I actually found out that there is a woman who I'm guessing is probably in her mid to late 30s now, who lives either in Ohio or like Midwest area, um, who has also had a cordectomy done and is living cancer free. So
So this
they
corectomy
they
is
did
something
it.
that's
Yeah, so it does
becoming a
work.
thing. It works.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how well she's doing now. I don't know when that took place, but at that time, it actually did say that now I'm one of two living people who have ever had this surgery done.
So what did you say? That's an incredible, incredible story to say. What did you say you did as a career? What was your job?
I'm a computer technician, IT technician for a school
Okay.
district.
Freaking awesome, man. How long have you been doing that for?
Um, I was hired December of 2014 because I graduated college in 2014. So it was December of that year. I moved back home, and we have a place at a lake about an hour away from where we live, and so I basically just lived at the lake all summer long, and I applied for jobs here and there, just living it up, taking a break from college, and uh, ended up going back to my high school because my brother at the time was one of the soccer coaches, and he had to do submit like some fundraiser papers or something, and he was still in college, so he couldn't just leave his classes. And I was like, dude, I'm not doing anything today. I'll take him up to
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
school, and went up there, and I still knew like a bunch of the teachers that were there. The assistant principal, I grew up with her kids, so like we knew each other really well. And I'm just talking to them. They're asking how I'm doing. What am I doing for a job? We're looking for a job. And the principal's like, "We're actually looking for an IT guy. Like, would you be interested?" And
IT
I was
guy.
like, "I need a little bit more information about the
Yeah.
job, but like,
Mhm.
sure." He's like, "Okay, go home tonight and apply." Just so it's already like in the paperwork's put through, that can take some time in education. So like, just go ahead and get that knocked out, and we'll be in touch shortly. So I applied on Thursday, got a call on Friday for an interview, which was really just me talking to the principal again, and then my actual IT boss, and then that the that interview was on Monday, and I got hired on Tuesday. So from
So this
Thursday
was
to
in
Tuesday,
2014?
I had a job.
Jesus. This is back in 2014 you were
So
saying that, eh?
yeah,
You've
fall
had
of,
this
of
you've been doing this
24
for a
or
while though.
December.
That's wild.
Yes, 6 years and a half.
Good for you. Do you have any tattoos at all?
Don't not yet. Okay, so I know you got some
I got a couple
sick.
ones. Nothing.
Um, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, so I've got like these
Is that
paintings
what
right
those
here.
are? I was wondering what that was behind you there.
Yeah, so you got Legolas and Gimli, side by side, best bros. You got Aragorn riding a horse. Um, you got the
The boys
you
right
got
there.
Yeah, you got Frodo and Sam and Pippin in them, and then over
Pimpin'.
here you've got Smeagol, Gandalf, and at the top is our Lord and Savior
Oh
over there,
god.
Sauron,
That's too
man
funny.
of
Did
great
you
quality.
paint those?
No, 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 they're like, it's kind of like a watercolor painting, and then they've done like splatter art on top of it.
Yeah,
Um,
because it looks like
but no,
you
Sarah
painted
got
it.
those for me. No, my mom bought them for me for Christmas,
Okay.
and then Sarah got the frames. So I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I haven't read all of the books, so I'm not like deep Tolkien lore, but I really appreciate the movies. I appreciate all of that extra stuff and everything that like Tolkien as a person created is absolutely incredible. Like he created a freaking language. How many
Yeah.
people can say they create their own language that people practice and go out and learn? Like they take the time to learn his language. People don't even want to learn English, dude. Like so, yeah, huge Lord of the Rings fan. So I actually really want the Tree of Gondor on my back shoulder because I want this to be substantial.
Yeah.
Um, Back shoulder blade area. I want the Tree of Gondor, and I want the background of it to be. I live in the mountains, and we have a star, like a man-made star, on top of one of our mountains.
Oh, cool.
So the Tree of Gondor, you've got the crown and the stars above it. So for the seven men, and I want the background to have the mountain that feeds into the Shire. So it's like our mountains, but the Shire, and the top star to actually be the
That
star
star?
that I live at.
Dude, you got this all figured out, man. You got some
Dude, I have
tattoos
so much
figured
time,
out.
and I'm like, just get the freaking tattoo done, man. Like,
That's too funny. The
but
thing is because you've experienced all this pain already, like you're already pretty pain tolerant towards these tattoos. Like when I go get tattoos, I'm like, I've been in pain recently. I have a lot of nerve pain I experience. And I'm like, this is my tattoo therapy. Like I get tattoos for therapy nowadays. Like it's
yeah,
obviously I wanted to be covered like head to toe my whole life, but now I can do it and it's not as hard as it used to be. Like when I remember like getting my first couple of tattoos, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Get my chest done around my nipple, man. I swear, man, I almost cried. I was just borderline. I was like, oh my god, this is brutal. Like that's hands down the worst spot that I can think of to get tattooed is your nipple, hands down.
I'll remember that.
Yeah,
I actually have had for years, probably since like early high school, I've had dreams where I have either a half sleeve or a full sleeve on one arm,
Cool.
and they're all video game characters.
That's
So
my
it's like
plan on
Crash
this arm. That's
Bandicoot.
like what I want to do on
Yeah,
this arm and
dude,
continue
that's
doing with
that's
that.
literally like in my dreams, and it's just something that's normal to
Yeah,
me.
it's cool, man. That's what you're
Uh,
interested in. Let's see,
so now it's
like,
just more or less like, do I do color? Do I do black and white? What do I making those big decisions? But
I'm such a yin. I'm such like a yin and a yang. Like I'm such a 50-50 person to where like I'm like this arm has to be all black and gray and this arm has to be all color and
yeah,
then when I do my chest like I have an angel here which means I have to have a devil over here and I'd love to just have a yin yang in the middle because I don't know, I'm always just been like I don't know, man, I'm very like black and white, like I'm very this is what it is, like this is I don't know. I don't know. I really don't know how to explain it. I just yin and yang is the best way that I can explain it. That's what I've always
I
been.
like it.
Yeah,
No, it's good. I
yeah.
like the contrast too, because you can take an Instagram pic and you just got your all your color, and then you do another one and it's all your black
You
and
could do
white.
some cool stuff with that. You could do some cool
Yeah,
shit with that. Do you
I
stream
like it.
on? You stream on Twitch all the time. You play RuneScape all the time. You do your Beat Saber. Is that this whole Lord of the Ring thing? Is that where this gnome army thing came from? What is the gnome army? That's what you
Um,
go by, right?
Honestly, couldn't tell you at what point the
The
gnome
gnome army. It's
the
your
gnome army
whole
became a
Twitch thing.
thing. Like I
Even you have like your swords crossing or whatever. The stand-up
yeah,
guy. Your
so
logo is very cool.
I got a right here is a Godzilla,
I
and
see that.
he's eating gnomes, which is just really funny.
Little Vader there.
I don't think I have the other gnome in here. I think that's in the living room. See, I don't really know where the gnome stuff
It
started,
just
but like
came
Sarah
out
and
of
I were
nowhere. You're
very
like gnomes. That's it.
just gnomes.
My
Yeah,
whole process is gonna be gnomes. That's
it's
it.
everything.
I love it.
And so like gnomes
Gnomes
and
are
like the mushroom
hilarious.
stuff.
Mushrooms, yeah,
I
like
just
gnomes and mushroom. I figure it all like correlated.
yeah, like the whole I mean you're on TikTok, so like cottage core.
Yes, yes.
Cottage core is my aesthetic. Like 100 like I want plants. I want to live in a
I
cabin
was just about
with
to ask you that. You do a
trees
lot of
growing around
gardening.
me. It's that's me. That's my whole brand is gnomes and mushrooms and stuff. Sarah loved the gnome things too, and also she's loves squirrels, and so like obviously if you're looking at fairy garden things, they throw in squirrels and mushrooms, and um, I actually just bought a button down off of an Instagram ad, which I don't. I'm not an impulse buyer,
Right.
so it's pretty rare that I see something and I'm like, yeah, I need to buy this. But it's a mushroom shirt button down that's pretty cool. And I sent it to one of my best friends, and she was just like, "It amazes me that you don't do drugs, like
But yeah, all the
heavily don't."
mushroom shit you've got everywhere.
Just
Like,
like,
are you
yeah,
doing psychedelics? You know, like, is this
she's like,
this why you're always a
"Yeah,
happy guy? Because you're just micro dosing all the fucking time? Is this what's
yeah,"
going
and I
on,
was just like,
Jacob? Come on.
"Yeah, I get that, I get that." Yeah, no, I don't, but it's apparently something that I really like. So
No, I hear you, buddy. I hear you. When you do your Beat Saber, when you're sitting in your chair, I seen a picture that you had of you do your Beat Saber. It was one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. Because I've always wanted to try Beat Saber myself. Pull this
mhm.
picture up of you. You did this Beat Saber here. Hold up for the chat. That's being really annoying. But when you do that, like, how long have you been doing this Beat Saber here for?
Um, I bought the Oculus. So this is the Oculus Quest, and I bought that probably spring. It was early pandemic because it was nearly impossible to get one. Um, that's probably
The
one of the few
Oculus right
times I
there.
actually regret not having brakes on my chair
Was when you're
because
doing VR, no brakes?
doing
Ooh.
VR. So with that, like you've got to avoid obstacles, right? So you have like a wall coming at you, so you got to lean or move to the side. As an able-bodied person, you would just take a step over. It's not a big deal. But we can't grab our wheels, turn, push forward, turn back in that amount of time.
No,
Lateral movement is a we can't do it.
exactly.
Um, so being able to lean and stuff then affects my chair position. So next thing you know, I'm now like facing this way, but all the blocks are still coming at you from this angle. So you're trying to side do it. Um, and yeah, I've been doing it since probably I guess early pandemic, maybe March,
Cool.
April-ish, that I finally
Do
got
you
a
like
Best
the
Buy.
Oculus? Do you think that the
Dude,
VR
I
is
love it.
freaking worth it?
I've had a lot of fun with it. With the Quest 2, the prices have come down.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about the Quest 2 and what performance and integrity changes they have over the regular one. But I have heard that it substantially has streaming improvements. I actually like there's like 2 or 3 YouTube videos that I've done, and they've
Cool.
all been Oculus related.
Okay.
Um, that's where those snippets are from. And trying to be able to get the Quest to stream wirelessly to your computer so you can record it.
Via
You
what?
understand
The
how
game capture and all that shit? How do you do that?
it's dude, it's so hard, and I like the whole point of me buying the Quest was to be wirelessly because if I'm moving around in my chair, I'm gonna run over a cord and it's gonna rip it out, my headset's gonna fall off,
Yeah.
game over,
Yeah.
waste of my money.
A lot of money
So
too.
that's
They're not cheap. They're $600.
yeah, it's like the whole point of me going on the Quest was so that I could stream and play these games
Wirelessly.
wirelessly in my chair. Ended up eventually finding a $5 program that you actually can do a week trial on, and you cast it to your computer. Basically, it makes your computer like a think that it has a Chromecast. It's a virtual casting system, so it sees it that you can cast to from the Quest, and then pull that window up and record that.
Hmm.
Also, I apologize if you hear a beep. All of our smoke alarms, the batteries are
Dead.
starting to run
Beep,
out at this
beep,
time.
beep,
So if it yells at you
beep,
in a
beep, beep.
minute,
That's so funny.
that's what's
Whatever,
going
man.
on.
No worries, man. No
It just
worries. Not only
uh,
do you do, sorry to interrupt you. Not only do you do your Twitch streaming, which I really like. I always tune in and do a little lurk. This is one of my favorite things you do is you play wheelchair basketball, and that is one of the most interesting things that I've ever seen. I have no idea why this isn't pulling over, but I want to play wheelchair. Here we go. Here's you with looking swole, by the way. You're looking swole, dude. Like you got a good upper body with you and your buddies here. And like, what's going on with that? You play for the Cardinals?
yeah, so that's a team out of Charlottesville. So Brandon, the guy on the left in that photo, he was one of the people who got me started in wheelchair basketball while I was at Kluge going through rehab. So the rehab, this is a great.
I'm
This is
sorry,
in
this
Edinburgh.
shot, I don't care what anybody says. This dude is posting up from the golden arches on the Mickey D circle. Shot!
All right.
Splash! Like, yeah, why, bro? Just give it to Jacob. Just give it to Tyree, because he's draining out here. Look at him! Stop it!
So little background on this.
Bah.
This is right after the end of our warm up. There's only a couple seconds left in our before the game starts. We're about to play Edinburgh University, so we're playing a college team that practices 5 days a week. They're working out 2 or 3 times. They have like individual skills stuff they're working on versus basically like I'm going to call it a club program, but we're more than a club program would kind of put in effort into, but not we're not doing 5 days a week. We're like getting in the gym when we can, work
Right.
out when we can, practice maybe once a week for with the whole group kind of thing. So we knew we were about to get our ass handed to us. So like these games are just you do your best, you have fun with it, and they had just done got a McDonald's sponsors up there, and so they have the dots on the floor.
Yeah, seeing that.
And I was like, Brandon, do you think I can make this real quick? And he's just like, hell yeah, you can. So the audio for that is Brandon going ba da ba ba ba, and then it goes in. And he's like, I'm loving
No,
it.
dude, that's way past 3. Like
It's
that is
it's deep.
closer to half court than it is a 3. Like that is Steph
Yeah,
Curry range. And that's where
it's,
Steph Curry takes his shots.
I'm not on Steph Curry's
No,
level. His
obviously not. But this man
point
is draining
point
shots.
6 second release.
So how does wheelchair basketball work? Is same positions? Like, give me like an outline of how something like that would work. Like
Yeah, so almost
forwards.
almost everything is the same as able-bodied basketball. The only difference is the positions themselves. We don't have like a center because what's unique about wheelchair basketball is with your chair, you occupy a section of space on the court that's yours. Somebody can't just come and blow through you. Like you can, if you and I are playing basketball, we can both stand up. You're guarding me. I can come straight at you and kind of just finagle my way through your surface area and through your position, knock you off your ground. Obviously, if you move your foot, you no longer have your position.
Yep.
Same kind of concept with the chair is you have to have certain positioning with where your wheels are facing versus your foot plate. But basically, with that is if you are sitting in the center of the key on defense, you've given a team a layup. So there's no reason for you to ever defensively be in the middle of the key. And so there's different at different levels of the game. You see different lineups of defense. But because we can occupy our space, we'll say the meta for defense is something called the teacup lineup. So you sit back to back. You've got 3 facing one way on the 3-point line and 2 facing the other. Now, depending on the threats for the other team, so if they're all Steph Curry's and they're dropping threes like it's no problem from
Mickey
that
D's fucking golden arches
McDonald's
there.
line,
Oh my
you're going to come
god.
up further. But because of that, what you're able to do is as they come at you, you can expand the defense out and around and meet them as they go. And then obviously it'll collapse in over time.
Right.
But yeah, you still typically have like, I'd say 2 or 3 good ball handlers, and then you have 2, sometimes 3 big post players. But we don't, it's not like for our professional league, like, oh, I'm labeled as a point guard and you're labeled
That's what
as
I was thinking. I'm like,
so there's not, you have to do more than just your role. But the biggest thing is with wheelchair basketball and a lot of adaptive sports is there's a ranking system to make it as fair as possible for as broad as encompassing as you can be for disabilities as a whole.
because there's probably people like actual like NBA players have gotten a car accident or whatever happened to them, and now they play basketball, but they played at an elite level. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
so yeah, I could understand that you
Now,
can kind of separate that a little.
yeah, and so you need, and obviously, like, take that the same analogy of an NBA player hopping in a chair. You know as well as I do, anybody who hops in a chair for their first time or even their first 6 months, compared to you and I who do this every day, we can run
We're
circles
all
around
over.
it.
Yeah, we're
Like
all
they
over
can't
them.
do anything.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a battle in the discussion of the game, at least in America. Each country has a little bit different rules, but in America, we don't allow able-bodied athletes to play wheelchair basketball because the founder,
Yeah, okay.
Dr. Tim Nugent at Illinois, he was worried that allowing able-bodied athletes to play would take away opportunities for people with disabilities to play.
Totally makes sense, man. Totally
Makes
makes
sense,
sense, man. I don't know.
but that makes sense in the terms of if you have a population you can pull from. Whereas like here, where I'm at in the mountains, if I could have had one player, maybe two people that are able-bodied athletes that can play on my team, we could have registered with the NWBA 2 or 3 years ago. But
True. It doesn't
so
help with the smaller areas.
the more spread out demographic areas.
My friends
There,
have
there,
always told me, they're like, bro, if you ever play wheelchair basketball, we would absolutely come play with you. Like any sport that you sign up for. My couple of buddies are like, please do basketball, right? Like, and
yeah.
I was like,
So
all right, yeah, I guess so.
you being in Canada, Canada does allow. I think this is still the rule. One able-bodied athlete can play on a team. So with that, the whole point system make it even. Is you are ranked between a 1.0 and an able-body is a 5.
Okay.
And they go up by 0.5 intervals. So more disabled you are, so the higher level injury, basically, the lower the point value you are on the court.
Okay.
You still can't exceed 5 players. So you could have 5 class 1s going up against a whole team of 14 points, but you're now kind of generally the class 1s are going to be shorter players.
Yeah.
I'm a class 1, so I have no abdominal function. And so it's part of the classification tests, I guess, you go through is like, if you're seated in your ball chair and you have a basketball, take it and lean forward with your arms extended. And I want you to go down and touch the ground and come back up.
What do you want to do? What do you want me to do?
You want to do this real quick? Okay.
Yeah, I do
so
want to do this. I'm gonna use Rocco's little donut here.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
With your arms extended, reach straight out and then go down and touch the ground with it, and then come straight back up. Okay, so you just did that without using your arms. So you've got abdominal function.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a lot
now,
of my paralysis is like cocked down.
Okay, so the next thing they would do is you have to take the same thing and go to your left. Go as far as left as you can, come back.
Okay, and then like do right.
Okay, and then you do the same thing for your right. So depending on your level of injury, or if you're an incomplete, you might be able to do the first one, and then you might have some extension left, but maybe you have none. Yeah, so that's where, as you start taking things away, the point value increases. So
yo, what am I? I'm a 1, number 1.
Yeah. No, I'm a 1. You're gonna be.
I'm a 5.
You're probably like 3.
Dang.
Just as a rough guess of not
shooting threes, baby.
You're probably a 3.0, maybe a 3.5.
Like that.
So yeah, like as you add some abdominal function, you might be a 1.5. 2s would be you can go forward into one side, but not both. 3s are typically you can kind of go all directions, but no lower extremity function. So no like single leg amputees above the knee are going to be a 4.
Right.
Typically, or double leg amputees above the knee are like 3.5s, and then 4.0s are typically single leg amputee above the knee, and then 4.5s are going to be below the knee single leg amputees, or a disability that just affects your walking ability for like an extended play, but it's still too much for you to play able-bodied basketball.
So if you're a 5, then you're an able-bodied basketball player.
You are 100. You are just an able-bodied basketball player who hops in a chair.
I'm just gonna get my boy Nick. The dude's almost like 7 feet tall. Like I'm just gonna you sit right the fuck there, and you sit you guard. There's no center, but you're gonna be what is our center. Right?
Yeah. So the guy who oversees Wheelchair Basketball Canada, his name is Mike Frogley. He was my basketball coach for the first 3 years of my college career.
You're what? No shit. Okay, so you know the dude that controls. Yeah.
So he was offered over the summer, going from my junior to senior year, was offered a position by basically the Canadian Olympic organization and Paralympic organizations to come help spearhead the Paralympic. Basically, he's the director of Wheelchair Basketball Canada. So he oversees literally everything from like kids up through JV, varsity. Then you got the collegiate level. You've got Division 3, 2, and 1, and then you've got your Paralympic stuff. I did message one of the guys who plays on the Paralympic team who lives right near you guys because you guys have the center there. I messaged him and I was like, I'm going to get you the address, but there's also a Division 3 team, which is like what you would enter into as an adult person. So I'll send you that information once I get more.
Do it, man. Do it.
So even if you just go to like their tournaments or something, check it out.
Check it out.
But it's looking up the address based on what you've told me of where you live. Dude, you can't be more than like a 20-minute drive.
That's what I'm thinking, man. I feel like I'm really close
crazy.
to something, right? Like,
Yeah.
could be dope, man. It could be dope. I also wanted to see what wheelchair rugby was like because those people fuck each other up, dude. They fuck each other up. I'm pulling up a clip right now, man.
Dude, pull some Murderball shit.
Some what?
Have you seen the movie Murderball?
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Murderball is a documentary on wheelchair rugby. Wheelchair rugby is something that if you are a paraplegic, you will easily become a quadriplegic.
Look at some of these fucking hits, dude. They absolutely massacre each other, man. They're flipping each other over.
Yeah. And so those chairs are basically basketball wheelchairs that have been retrofitted. Like, see all that metal on the front of their foot plate?
Yeah.
That is steel. That's not like lightweight aluminum or titanium. Like those chairs weigh probably 50 to 75 pounds.
These guys are tired, man.
I remember going to Lakeshore, Alabama has a tournament every year, and that's one of the national practice facilities for the American rugby team.
Right.
And they had all these chairs just in their closet, and one of our buddies was on the team or would practice with them. And we were like, Clay, can we like, I don't want to disrespect your sport and stuff. So I'm asking you, would it be disrespectful if we were able to get in those and just push it around to see the difference in the chairs?
Like the weight and like the movement.
God, dude. So we like kind of pushed a couple of laps in these things. And so we went from a 25 pound basketball chair to a 50, 75 pound block of steel. When you hop back in your ball chair, dude, you felt like you weren't even pushing.
Bro, it's like when you're going up to bat, man, you got 3 or 4 bats, right? You're getting your arms loose, right? And you chuck those 3 bats, you got this one little white stick, like you're ready to go. Like, love it,
exact same thing. So it's cool. It's really cool.
Funny, man.
But yeah, so basketball rules, like same 3-point line, same 15-foot free throw. You've got international 3-point line versus the regular like college standards. 3 seconds in the key, so you can't have any of your wheels inside of the
3 in the key. Okay, yeah, I like that.
It's like if your foot's on the line, same thing with your wheel. Like you can't be in the key. There is a kind of a more of a referee's call. I wouldn't say it's a set in stone rule in terms of how they actually call it, but because we occupy a space on the court, if I went in for a layup and I missed, right, but we get our own rebound, the defense has already collapsed on me in the key because I have the ball. I'm in the middle of the so defense has collapsed in around me. I'm a small dude. If there's 5 defenders, they literally can trap me in there, right? Like I can't
get out of there. So you're saying they're going to be lenient and not call something like that?
It depends. So the rule of how it's written is if you are making an attempt to exit the key and you are not engaged in the play as an active participant. So as long as I'm not trying to get out and then 1 second later I'm like calling for the ball.
True. Or I'm like cherry picking.
Yeah. So what I was instructed with Frog is if I get in a situation like that, just put your head down, start saying I'm getting out, I'm getting out, I'm getting out, and just keep repeating it and do your best to push towards an edge.
True.
sometimes they're still going to call you for 3 seconds, and it's kind of a dick move to do that
That's a
because it's
drag,
like,
yeah.
what else do you want me to do? Like
You get in fights
I
with the
can't
referees
walk.
at all? Oh, like get yeah.
And I mean, it's one of those things like you move on. Don't let one bad call ruin and trickle into something else.
No, for sure.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, so 3 seconds. Different leagues have different backcourt shot clock violations and stuff like that. So a
Okay.
24 versus 35-second shot clock.
You said 24 versus 35?
Yeah.
God damn, that's a big difference, bro.
And
That's
then,
a
well, some of them are
huge
30.
fucking difference.
Yeah. We played, I think it was 1 year of college. They decided to go the international 24. Dude, I freaking love the pace of the
It's
game. Like there
quicker,
is no
quicker.
downtime.
True,
Just
true.
you have to keep going and you have to make decisions on the split. There's no, oh, I can take my time. Oh, that didn't really make sense at the time. Let me go back and do it again. You got like maybe 2 tries to actually get something good. Otherwise, you got to throw something up, get back on defense.
That was my next question. Like, would you rather the 35-second or 34-second or the other one?
As I've gotten older, maybe the 30, 35,
Yeah.
but definitely in college, I loved the 24-second shot clock. It was awesome. Playing internationally too, it's just at that level, like the pace of the game. Some people kind of think wheelchair basketball is like gonna be slower or because you're not running, right? But like the speed at which we do these drills and we play these games, I mean, you just showed a clip of murder ball. Like
Mental.
it's an intense sport. Like we break frames. We break a
So they call that murder ball?
yeah, murder ball.
I was gonna ask you if you had to like go back in time, kind of like talk to your old self, like 18-year-old self, if you're old telling him, what would you tell him right now when it came to like just living in a wheelchair? Like you have a lot, like you've been in this chair for a really long time, right? So it's tough for you to kind of give yourself any. So instead of saying 18, like if you had to go back to yourself even before that, like what would you tell your younger self to get ready for this older self? Because you seem really confident in the fact that I'm in a chair, I'm fine with being like this, that's okay. Because I'm only 3 years into this, and obviously I have my days where I'm just like, I hate my life, this, I can't believe I'm like this, I want to walk, because it's kind of fresh. Like 3 years is fresh. And I also experience a lot of nerve pain, you know what I mean? Like I don't really know what I would tell my younger self. Be like, hey, look, you're gonna be in a chair, or like, how do you prepare for something like this? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. What would you tell yourself?
The I don't think I would actually change a whole lot of how I handled the situation. I definitely I have a vivid memory of like 2 occasions where I had like a like why me pity party kind of, and
You're allowed
that's
those
I think
days, bro.
the
You're
only thing
allowed
is like
more than 100 of those days. Yeah.
yeah, and I think I just have 2 vivid. I'm sure it happened way more than that, but one thing I probably would tell myself is like it's okay to have those. Like l- get that anger out, like experience those emotions, like but at the end of the day, and this is what eventually like I somehow came to these conclusions. I remember one of them I like was crying behind the couch. I was like I'm gonna get a blanket, and I just stayed back there and just cried for a little bit. And then another one I like got like that angry sad where you're just like pissed, but
Yeah,
you're
you're just
pissed,
like,
sad,
"Ugh."
and you're sad that you're pissed, and it just keeps repeating itself. And I remember I think I was going to my room because I was just so mad. I needed to get away. And I ran into the stairs. And that just pissed me off even more that I just fucking ran into some stairs
Yeah,
that I
this to
can't
the
even walk
bullshit in my
up.
life right now.
And
Yeah.
I just like slammed my fist on the ground and I was so mad. And I just went in my room and cried for like maybe about 10, 15 minutes. And it was literally like a light switch just hit me. And it was like, Jacob, okay, are you done now? Like you're old
Right.
enough. You did that. You got your cry out. You got your anger out. What did you just do with your after? Other than like get mad at yourself for something you can't control. And that's something I think like my parents did a good job of kind of ingraining into me is like control what you can control in life to the best.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't control that I did or did not have cancer. Like I can make decisions to better improve my outcome, but like it wasn't my decision to have that. Like everybody gets the cards that they're dealt. And being in the rehab hospital, you get, I mean, I'm sure you saw it with your experiences. Like you see people who have their own battles, whether they're car accident, their brain injuries, their gunshot wounds, like you name it, people experience
Way
these
worse
things.
situations than you.
And
Not you
yeah,
personally, but yourself. Like you look around, you're like, man, this guy's way worse than I am. He's over here blowing bubbles. You know what I mean? Like at least, you know, like
so I try not to look at it as like somebody has it worse or better, but it's just that for some people to like handle what I've been through, they look at that and it's like, there's no way. Like that is the hardest thing I could possibly imagine. There's no way I could do that. And like losing eyesight for me would probably be that level for me. But like
fair. Yeah, yeah,
quadriplegic versus paraplegic, I mean, we overcome things, and until you're in those situations, you don't really know how you handle it. I mean,
fair.
you can speculate, but you don't know until you're in their shoes. And um, I mean, I remember there's a kid down the hall from me who was a little bit older than me, but pretty close in age. Um, I don't remember his whole story of like what his background medically was, but didn't have the family support that like I had. Like I had my mom and my dad were driving back up, and they would swap out. My
Wow.
brother would come up and visit. I had my best friend Lucas would come up with his family. We'd play
You had
Xbox
a
together.
lot of support, eh, man? That's
So much
so good.
support.
Yeah, yeah.
It's such a big thing um, to kind of take for granted too. Like I think my parents did a good job of helping me realize that at an early age, not just as an adult looking back. But knowing that no, whether you're in a hospital or not, like everyone has their battles in life. You and I, we just happen to have physical ramifications that they don't have to know us. We can be across the street eating a sub somewhere, and they can say, "Hey, that dude had something happen to him. He's now in a chair. He has to deal with those things." But they could also look at the person at another table who's able bodied and they're dealing with mental depression. They're dealing with um, suicide risk. They're dealing with like parents divorce. Like everybody has their own battles and what their struggles are going to be. We just have ones that people can see right off the bat.
For
And
sure.
so ours are obviously more open for the public. And so that's why I like to talk about it is
Yeah,
like you see it, you're going to have questions. All right, what questions you got? Let's answer these things. Like
yeah.
I want to educate the world because the more educated we are, the less biased we're going to be and that like it breaks down those stereotypes and stigmas that people have on physical disabilities. Like you no longer see me as just a dude in a wheelchair. You now see me as the dude who just hit a sick ass 3-point shot
Fuck
leading up
yeah.
to a game. Like
Fuck
what
yeah.
else this dude do? What like
And
what
what
else
else
he's
is this
got going
guy
on?
up to? Yeah, yeah. It makes
Uh,
me like want to sit out in the middle of the thing. I don't know, like a mall or something. Be like, ask me anything you want, like wheelchair
yeah,
questions, and just sit
yeah,
out there and like ask me whatever the fuck you want, man. Like I'm an
yeah.
open book, right? Like we had talked about
And
when we first started talking. We're both pretty open books when it comes to shit.
mhm.
Mm.
And you'll see it being in a chair if you haven't already. Is you go to a mall, kids with their parent, and they're like walking along, like the kid's curious. They want to ask you questions. They might even yell it, like
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
30 feet away, and they're like,
yeah.
"What happened to your legs?"
Wow,
And you're like,
he's
the mom's like, "No, no,
flying.
don't ask that." And so I try if I have time, like go over to them and you talk to the kid and you talk to them like they're talk to the level that they can understand, but talk to
Yeah,
them like a person and like an
yeah,
adult.
yeah.
And you're not only educating that kid who's now going to grow up having that knowledge, but you're also educating the parents to be like, there's a respectful way of asking questions when you're curious. And I
For
think
sure
that
there
that is
is.
something that we too often don't do is we're too scared because we're going to offend somebody. But I, I don't know that anybody is going to get offended if you come up to them and politely ask them, be like, "Hey, man, I see you're in a wheelchair. I don't know if you're busy or whatever. Would you mind if I ask what your story
Yeah,
is?"
I don't think
Um,
anybody would be offended
and
by
nobody
the.
like
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
approach situations like that, nobody's going to get mad. The
yeah.
worst thing they're going to say is, "No, man. Like I'm having dinner with my
Busy.
family.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking time to that." But like you can handle it like an adult. Um, but with wheelchair basketball and also with wheelchair tennis too, is I try to use that as an education opportunity to go into like schools. Like we'll
Wheelchair
do
tennis?
program
Sorry, you said you play wheelchair tennis too?
tennis.
That's
Yeah.
hard. I used to play tennis growing up with my friends all the time, man. It's
Yeah.
fun, bro. I couldn't be mad. I think wheelchair tennis be fun.
It's a lot of fun. It's something I've more gotten back into.
Okay.
Um, I played tennis in high school,
Yeah,
and
I
I
played it
did
when I
it
was
because
in
it was
elementary. Young kid.
yeah, so I did it as I needed something to stay active in the off season for basketball. Um, and I grew up and there was a tennis court next to our house. So I grew up hitting tennis. I don't know that I
Perfect.
necessarily like played competitively and
Right.
stuff, but fundamentals were already there of how to hold a racket and how to have a good forehand and backhand and rules of the game kind of thing. Um, and played it in high school just as something to stay active and stuff. And um, transferred a lot of the basketball fundamentals of like how to move the chair positioning, judging where the ball is going to go, and um, playing the mind game of like defense needs to dictate to the offense where you want them to go. So I want them to hit the ball to my right, not to my left. So I need to take away the left as a shot for
As a
them to
shot,
take.
right?
So a lot of those skills transferred over really easily.
So
It's
you,
just again that lateral movement is a bitch in
it's a
tennis.
bitch, yeah. So you got to make sure you're in the right position. Yeah, yeah. So
Uh,
you said you played tennis in high school. So you had like, it seems like you had all of these like. We were talking about wheelchair tennis in high school, or were you like standing up at this point? Because you had
no,
such a journey. Because you were like sitting down, standing, sitting down, standing. Like so at that point, you were like running around your AFOs or whatever, right?
no, that was 10. 10 was my permanent surgery.
Okay,
So,
okay,
yeah, so all middle school, 6th grade, I had surgery for rods for structural integrity,
right.
and
I
then
have a
in
terrible
8th
memory. I
grade
apologize.
no, you're fine. 8th grade, I started developing a pressure sore on my hip from where basically my spine was sitting forward on top of my
Makes me want to
pelvis.
move, bro. When you say the word
Yeah,
pressure
yeah.
sore, bro, the second you
Uh,
say it, I'm like, man, I gotta move around a little bit.
So it started causing a pressure sore on my hip, and so we ended up doing a pelvic fixation where they actually attached the rods down into the pelvis and kind of took my pelvis and rotated it and then fixated it. So I have perfect posture now. Like even if I want to
Fucking
bend my
hey,
back, it doesn't
you
move.
can't.
Uh,
You're forced to be
But
perfect.
dude, it's not comfortable being perfect. I'll tell you that.
It ain't easy being perfect, man. You sit in that chair pretty comfortably, and I talk to my friends all the
I,
time, and they're like, "Why don't you get a nice chair?" I'm like, "Cause I can't." I'm like, "What if I need to go take a shit really fast?" Like I can't. How am I supposed to get the chair? Like you, in my opinion, like you're just sitting there. Like you can only move by like moving the desk, right? Is that what you do
yeah.
by moving around by pushing on
So
the desk?
in this
Maybe. Like,
chair,
what if you need it right now? It's Code Brown. What are you doing right now? You grabbing that chair? What's going on?
yeah.
Code Brown.
I'm in pajama pants, so
Fair
it's up
enough.
to you. But yeah, so you just um, pushing in this chair, right, is easy to push off of things,
Right.
but getting back to the desk is hard because the chair doesn't want to move, but the desk does.
Right.
Um, Things like that. But yeah, you just you hop,
Oh, you got
hop
a
right in.
deadly fucking transfer, dude. That was a
And
deadly transfer.
you got all right. So I did say I'm in pajama pants.
That's
Um,
hot.
these are gingerbread men,
Hot.
and they're disabled people, man. They're missing arms and legs. They're little
Ah,
amputee
all part of
boys.
the community. What's the sweater you're wearing? The Jasmine? Is that like a tee?
Yeah. Have you watched Avatar: The Last Airbender?
When I was younger. I
Uh,
remember when I was younger,
so
I watched
this
it.
is Uncle Iroh, who is the greatest
Unks.
character in the show.
Unks.
Um,
You can sit back in your chair. I feel bad for getting you out, but
I,
that was
I mean,
dope.
it's fine. Going off of pressure sores, though, that's definitely something to talk about. Is
The
I've got a row,
bro-ho. The
and then I've got a row
bro-ho.
in my chair. But then, so because of where my rods are, sitting in this chair normally is actually really uncomfortable after about an hour,
Oh,
and I'll feel like
wow.
my shoulders are pushed forward. They're in this position. Like your neck starts hurting, your shoulders start hurting. So I actually took the lumbar support and moved it up to the back. So it's actually putting pressure up, kind of above my shoulder blades.
Yeah.
But what that does is it allows my shoulders to relax and sit back better.
You can sit there
Um,
longer?
because I don't need the lumbar support because I have
Yeah.
freaking metal doing that.
Do you think if you didn't have all that, like one of those chairs would be comfortable? I'm just trying to think of myself, like looking at you, I'm like, maybe I get a chair here.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. One thing
Because
to
this chair is
consider
very
is
uncomfortable, man. I sit in this wheelchair for hours, dude.
Yeah.
Right here in this very spot in my studio for hours, whether it's editing, gaming, making content, this, whatever the fuck I'm doing. I'm like, man, if I just had a better chair than this, I hate it. I hate this chair, man. I'll do anything. You got like a nice chair in a row hall. The second you saw that row hall, I almost threw up, dude. I want one so bad. They're so nice. You're literally on air.
Yeah, you're just on these little bubbles.
Bubbles.
But I love it. The only problem is now I have 2 chairs taking up the space.
It's your life, bro. Like you've renovated your house for this type of shit. You've gotten like your chairs. That's a nice chair compared to like my chair per se, or like most people's chairs. Like I don't know, man. Like you've got yourself set up, and that's the way you gotta be comfortable with your surroundings. And yeah, you look comfortable, which is fucking awesome. Which is awesome.
Yeah, I am. Like this chair is good. The one thing I don't. So when I play video games with a controller, I tuck my elbows in. I want like my elbows down at my sides. But the side guards on this are they're metal.
Oh, so I saw you hop over that. Yeah.
So I'll get in the other chair if I'm gonna play that, and there's actually a pillow back there that I'll put on my lap sometimes, because otherwise I'll just sit there like this and I'm playing, and after about 10 minutes,
your
my
arms
just hurt, and I'm starting to get pressure sores from the side guards, the clothing guards.
Yeah.
That's just like kind of a con to the nice chairs, not having the armrest and stuff. But
is Dragonite your favorite Pokemon? I see a little Dragonite up there.
Dude, have you ever seen the Bitches Love Dragonites video? No, you need to watch that off screen.
I'll watch it. Yeah, probably off this because it's probably copyright or whatever.
But it's hilarious. Sarah got
Dragonite. Okay.
We were in New York. Shit, I don't even. Time doesn't exist anymore. At some point in our relationship, we went up to New York, and we're going around, and there's like a whole Pokemon giant store, and they had like a whole plush section, and got Dragonite, and then I got her an Eevee. No, not an Eevee. Vulpix.
Okay. Yeah.
The cat loves Vulpix and will take it and just like body slam the shit out of it. So
you'll
just be like,
that's a Dragonite plushie, eh?
Yeah, it's just this little stuffed animal.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Magmar is my favorite Pokemon.
Magmar? That's so random. You know what's funny is everybody has their own individual favorite Pokemon. Like there's a Pokemon for everybody. Like my favorite Pokemon's Blastoise. And like I think it's a little generic. It's not Charizard. That's the most generic. And like if you like Charizard or Pikachu, fuck you, man. Like grow up and choose something different, man. Charizard or Pikachu, I don't know, man. Like at least I chose Blastoise. He whooped Charizard's ass. He get whooped by Pikachu. We get whooped Charizard's ass. And people like you're talking about Magmar, man. The first time I ever heard that.
Yeah, he's not an incredible Pokemon.
No, he's just sick.
He's not a competitive pick. He's not anything that is substantial. Like I have no reasoning behind why I love him. It was just the first time that I saw a Magmar playing Pokemon growing up. I was like, this dude's the fucking best.
Yeah.
I guess he had flames, but like at that point you're barely even getting color on those pixels. So you don't know, like, are they flames or are they like a ghost Pokemon? Like you don't know what's going on. I'm like, this dude though, he's got whatever it is. And now as an adult, he's got I gotta look at his head. Have you seen?
He's like, I don't even know where my guy. He's got like a flame head, doesn't he? With like a tube.
Pull up a picture of Magmar right now.
Magmar. Spelled that wrong. Magmar. He's got 2 little dinghies on his head.
Yeah. So he looks like he's just got.
This is your favorite Pokemon right here.
Right.
Derp, derp, derp.
Like he's just got a big booty up there that's on fire.
Yeah.
And
that
I'm like,
booty.
maybe little
Damn.
he knew what was going on.
That's too funny, man. Okay, here's a random question for you. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck or 50 duck-sized horses? One horse-sized duck or 50 duck-sized horses. This is honestly, I sat here pondering this for like at least 7.5 minutes. And I was like, I don't really know if I could take on a duck-sized horse.
I mean, a duck-sized horse means that it can still fly.
Yeah. Yeah, these bitches can fly. And they can fucking peck. Yeah.
I'm going with
big ass Firo.
No, duck-sized horses all the way. I'm not a horse. Not a horse fan.
Fuck you. Right.
I rode a horse as a kid at some point at some campground we went to, and I was with my grandpa, and our horse decided it just wanted to take a shit. So as we're riding it, it just starts squatting backward, and I'm like, "This is not comfortable. I don't like this."
Oh no.
And I'm like,
you're like holding onto the reins, like, oh fuck.
I'm like, we have planes and cars. Why am I on a horse?
I love
We're
it.
not going fast.
I'm sticking to my chair. Anything mechanical.
Like, we have four-wheelers, so you can't even say you can do it off road.
This thing has a mind of its own, and I don't fucking trust it. I don't know it, and I don't trust it.
When he wants to just like boot kick me in the chest, like I might die.
Oh man, us in a wheelchair, we are fucking face level. We're not getting hit in the chest. We're getting hit in the face by a hoof. Yeah. You know what I mean? If we're getting too close to their ass, back away from horse.
With that said, if you like horses, nothing against it. It's just not for me.
Nothing against these animals. I would just rather take on 50 fucking mini horses. 50 mini horses over a massive duck. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
And ducks, if you really think about it, they got little itty bitty claws at the end of their things, right? Now make that bigger. That's a claw.
So they can swim fast, they can float, they can fly. And some ducks are like, if it's a male mallard duck, that thing was pissed off.
Yeah, what kind of duck are we talking about here, too? Yeah, mallards. Right. Speaking of that horse shitting in front of you, or whatever, what's the funniest thing that's happened to you recently? What do you think? Like, we could sit here and think about it. What's the funniest thing like probably happened to you recently? Make you laugh, make me laugh.
Funniest thing that has happened to
recently. Most recently, I was fucking talking about horses that was shitting right in front of them.
I mean, recently, just because everything is computer based, like
it's
I come
tough.
home and
it's always gonna be a meme. It's gonna be a meme or something silly, right?
It's another streamer, Anchorman. He does RuneScape stuff. We have a little plan together. And
I've seen you talking to Anchorman. Last time I was in your stream, you were playing old school RuneScape. It was the very beginning of your stream. I was there from like the first 5-minute like crazy shield thing you've got, and then you start up and you're chilling and you're waiting for the people to come in. And I don't know RuneScape, so I was just kind of watching. And then you're like, you said something. You're like, that's a shout out to Anchorman, and then Anchorman chimed in, and you guys were like talking shit. So this is a good buddy of yours that you stream with, this Anchorman guy,
Yeah, we kind of go back and forth. Like,
cool.
He lives in the Midwest, so
cool.
We try to not stream at the same time, but like I can stream and then rate his or whatever.
Oh, I like that. Cool, I like that.
And we've developed like a small little community of players around the world that play RuneScape, and he's just like, he's such a dad, like an our age dad. Daddy. But it's just dad jokes and like the things that you would never think of just become the funniest shit. And we have a couple guys in the clan who are from Australia, and Americans notoriously are geography, like our education system fails geography for us.
I'm pretty bad at geography too, but yeah.
So okay, like it's fair.
I'm in Canada,
but we were talking about like he kept referring to Tough as being from the Southeast, and it's like, what do you mean the South? Like it's not.
What is the top?
Like Tough. His name's Tough.
Oh, okay.
His account name. So Tough, and he's from Australia. So yes, if you took a a global map that we typically see in North America, the North American centric map is Canada, US in the
That'd be
the upper
southwest.
left of the map, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so you would have like North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and then Australia. Okay.
Right. Right.
If you go to Japan into Asian countries, it's flipped because it's a globe and there is no left and right.
Right.
You can debate that the prime meridian creates a west and east because it just splits time zones.
Yeah.
But okay. But yeah, so he just kept saying, like, yeah, Tufts from the southeast. And it's like, what the fuck do you mean? Like, take a globe and spin it halfway. He's now southwest. Like, what do you he's in the southern hemisphere and it was just, but that, like, him talking about that, dude, we lost it. We absolutely that, and we had a new person come in who their name was like Waifuology, which is a
Waifu.
cool name. But he's not an anime person. He's got a kid. So he didn't even know how to say waifu and just kept saying waifu. And we gave him so much shit about it. We're like, what do you like ordering stuff off
I've heard
Wayfair?
waifu a lot. I've heard
Um,
waifu a lot.
God, dude, it was
Waifu,
so good. And
waifu.
then he got into like the whole senpai and everything else, and it was good.
Such
That's
a
probably been the
wild time.
funniest thing that's happened recently. What about you? What's
The
give
funniest thing
me
that's happened to me recently. Oh man, a lot of funny shit. My whole life's a giant joke, to be perfectly honest. I don't know, man. Recently, I was trying to be all cool and try to go over this like curb, and I even said to myself, I was like, you know what, Brandon, like it's probably not a good idea. There was like a big old divot in the ground, and I could have just went around it, but I was like, you know what, fuck it. I've taken my wheelie bars off recently. I'm gonna go over this fucking thing, right? So I started to go over it, and my girlfriend comes behind me. She's like, oh, yeah, I'll help you, bro. We both fell backwards. Boom, yo, it was brutal. Like I don't fall backwards on this thing often, so like falling backwards and hitting her, and like, yo, I knew it. Like I can't feel this, but like I knew that this thing dug into her leg, and I'm a big dude, man. Like I'm 280, 270. I'm a big dude. So yeah, I don't know. It was probably not as funny out loud, but in the situation, it was bad. Like I was like,
Okay, I
holy
know
shit.
exactly what you were like, what that feels like.
It's like when you're falling in a dream. You're like, like you're scared.
Yeah,
Like you
but
can't
no,
do anything about it, right?
you saying that you can't feel your chair.
Yeah.
You honestly can't, like,
You feel like where it pushes in certain things, right?
so do you have feeling sensation in your legs?
No.
Okay. So how I try to explain people when they're like, "Oh, so you can't feel your legs?" I'm like, "Well, I can. If I close my eyes and you have a stick that's on fire and you put that stick on my leg, I could tell you just hit me, but I couldn't tell you that it was on fire. Like there's no pain."
Yeah, okay.
But the chair becomes kind of that same thing. Like if I close my eyes and you do something to my chair, I can give you a pretty good idea of what you've just done and where
Yeah, where you did
you
it. I can see
um,
how that works out.
but so you flipping backwards, same kind of scenario. I think this was after my third surgery, so I was like permanently in a chair, had gotten off of the wheelie bars for a while at this point, and gotten really pretty good about like popping curbs and stuff. And I remember my parents took me out. I really wanted Taco Bell, and so we went to Taco Bell, and I'm leaving, and the hospital and everything is right around UVA, the college, so it's around a college campus. And these girls were in this white truck. It was like a double door, four-door cab, beautiful truck, and there were these gorgeous college girls that were leaving as we like right before we were leaving. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna show off to them as I go out of here. And so like they're getting ready to pull out, so they're looking at you in your wheelchair as you're coming out, kind of thing. And it had just lightly snowed, so it was like enough little like dust covering, but the wind had blown it up against the curb. Looking at the parking lot, I you could kind of guess like it's probably anywhere from a 4 to an 8-inch curb, depending on where it's at. So 4 to 8 inches, like popping that's a
It's
very
big.
different
Yeah,
timing
big.
on how you handle that. I thought it was going to be more like a 4-inch curb, and it was more like an 8-inch curb.
See what you
So
pushed a little bit differently.
when I let go of my wheels, thinking I was already going to hit the ground.
Yeah.
And so I basically like went down, popped forward, and just fell into the snow.
Oh, right off your chair
So
forward.
it's just like I'm
Holy
blushing. I already
fuck.
know, like, dude, I just failed this. They stopped the truck and went over to come help me get up. And I was
No,
like,
the
you know,
girls?
yeah, I was like,
Oh,
this is so
fuck
win-win
me. This is
situation.
the exact opposite of what I wanted. Yo, funny story too with my girl again. Man, she is so cool, dude. I tell you, okay, she is so cool with this wheelchair shit. Probably and mostly because her dad is in a wheelchair and she's experienced that for a long time. He's been in a chair for about 5 years and he's a lot. He's like he's much like his hands have a lot of problems too, right? So anyway, I was like, our fucking it wasn't our first date, it was like one of our second or third dates. We went fishing together, right? And I'm like, yo, let's go down to this little area, right? And it was like a bit of a hill, not too steep of a hill, but then you get down to these like big, humongous flat rocks, and then you can just sit off the rocks and cast. And this whole island that we were fishing off of had them, and that's what we would just go post up on these rocks and fish up. And like, I want to go to that area, so I'm like, I'll go first. And yo, she even goes, she's like, don't fall in the water, right? Like, just as a fucking joke, okay? Bro, don't I fly down this fucking hill? I try to stop, can't stop, hit the rock and fucking launch out of my chair. Boom! Hit the rock on my side. And the first thing that goes through my mind, I'm like, yo, Parks, you're with a chica right now. You're trying to impress her. Bro, I just kind of pull myself up and like flip my legs forward to where like I was sitting on the rock and have my legs over the rock. And I was like, well, fuck, you might as well pass me my rod. I'm sitting here, right?
Yeah,
Bro, I was like, I'm talking cherry red. I was like, holy fuck, I'm gonna throw up right now. I'm gonna throw up. Like, she's gonna break up with me. This is not gonna happen. Like, it's not happening. I'm pretty sure later on I couldn't get in back. Oh yeah, later on, we're done fishing at that spot. I couldn't get back in my chair, and there's this like family over here, and she was like, you know, let's ask these people for the help, right? Because I'm a bigger dude, right? I really didn't want to ask for her help, man. I was like, fuck, I really don't want to ask for her help. So
oh, come on.
I don't know,
That's
bro.
a given opportunity. You get that contact.
I know, and like that's the thing too. And she told me that later on. But like we ended up getting the family to help us or whatever. And like I was like, you know, like I was kind of like standoff. Like, don't mean so many people to help, just like maybe one or two of you. And then she even pulled me aside later. She's like, look, I would so much rather you just like ask for my help than like to this whole like shenanigan situation. She's like, not only am I like a person that can help you, but like I have done this with my dad many a times. You know what I mean? Like I can and I know how to help you. So it's a totally different story. Like, and that's when it comes to dating, man, it's really important to find somebody that, I mean, it's not important to find somebody that knows about wheelchairs, but find somebody that's at least knowledgeable about the fact that we're not fully incapable of living, but we could use help every now and then. You know what I mean? Like it's simple. Like we're just fucking people. I just like to sit a lot. I'm just lazy, bro. Like when it comes down to it, I just refuse to use my legs. That's what it's come down to. Some people refuse to talk for the rest of their lives. I refuse to use my legs. I don't know. Fuck.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to like the whole educating people thing. Like, the more educated they are, the more they're really going to realize like people with disabilities are just as capable of doing things just like everybody else. We just have to do it in a slightly different way, or we might need a little accommodation to be able to do it. Might take us a little longer, whatever. We can still do it.
Yeah.
A girl I dated most of high school into college, her mom even had like some medical background. So this was like, I remember when Elizabeth told me this, like I was really surprised at this. But they had a discussion where she was like, early on in our relationship, probably 6 months into a year kind of thing, was like, are you sure that you want to get into this relationship more of a serious level? I mean, high school, but like a serious level high school relationship. And she's like, I don't want you to feel like you're gonna have to take care of somebody the rest of your life. And Elizabeth was like, what do you mean? Like Jacob is fully independent. He does everything for himself. Like he hops down our stairs in his wheelchair. Like, I don't know what you think he needs help with where I have to take care of. And I was and things like transferring stuff in a certain situation. Elizabeth was 6 feet and I'm in a wheelchair. Like
yeesh!
height discrepancy. 6 feet, yeah.
God damn, bro. She gonna pick you up and carry you wherever the fuck you want.
So tall.
Piggyback.
But
oh my god.
great really like I learned a lot from that relationship. A girl I dated in college was a nurse, and I remember just again like you said, like somebody having that background. You can have like two super jack dudes offer to help you transfer, like get pick your chair up or something. But if they don't know how to hold your chair, they're gonna grab your wheels immediately. Your
Yeah,
chair starts to rotate. Like
yeah,
you have to have the knowledge set as well as having some strength for these
100%,
situations.
100%.
But I remember she was staying over at my place, and I went to the bar, and they had who was it? The Canadian Mist, which
Never
is
heard of it,
not a
man.
good
Never heard of it, man. I don't know.
it's not a good
I'm
whiskey.
not. Oh, it's a whiskey. I thought it was a band. I was like, I've never heard of it.
No,
I'm
it's a
not taking
whiskey, and it
part in this
comes in like a
Canadianness. Okay.
it's like a Burnett's level of whiskey, right? Like it's in a plastic bottle when you buy it for like 12 bucks.
Okay, it's cheap. Holy
But they
fuck.
had trays of these for whiskey cokes, and they were shot glasses of half and half. Well, my buddy J3, I took sign language in college. He's a deaf guy, and knowing sign language at bars is the greatest thing you could ever possibly
His
learn
name's just
because it can
J3.
be
Just
loud.
fucking pop a J to 3 to them. You're just like gang gang kind of
So
thing.
so J and then three, so J3,
J3. That's sick.
so J with your
Oh,
pinky
like
around
you're
J,
okay. J3.
through J, and then
J3. Oh, you do it like
uh,
this.
yeah.
What's the difference with this? With this W?
Um, yes, yeah. It was
J.
weird seeing you backwards.
Oh,
Um,
true. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm like, we're like popping gang signs out here. We're trying
yeah.
to figure
So
shit
I
out
mean,
right now.
it's just different. They're different counties. So three.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's the sign is J3. But at a bar, you can communicate, and we could be at like more of the clubby style where it's just like lights everywhere, dancing, super loud music. We're right next to each other. We can't hear each other. And J3 would go to the bar, and I'd be like, yeah, give me like a maker's mark or something on the rocks.
Perfect.
And he'd get up there, and they're like, hey, they're out of makers, but they have a special for something else. We could have a whole discussion across
Without
the
even,
room
yeah,
without,
yeah.
yeah, and it was super cool.
You're like,
So I was
what?
meeting J3.
What?
Yeah,
What?
I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
meeting him, and he actually got me into drinking whiskey, and we were there just kind of hanging out, having a casual night, and the bar was pretty dead. Like there was us, maybe like 5 or 6 other people there. We were just hanging out talking to the bartenders since that was our favorite bar. And the Canadian Miss girls were like, "Look, our contract says we have to stay here until we get rid of everything, or the bar closes." So
Right.
they were like, "Please drink as much of these as you can, so we can go home because there's like 6 people here." It's kind of
That's
I
so
get it.
sick.
It's kind of a waste of their time. Also, they're paid for the night necessarily for hourly. So the quicker they got rid of it, the quicker they get to leave, the less work they had to do, same amount of
Money. Yeah, yeah,
money.
yeah.
Good deal. We're getting free drinks. So J3 and I are just like slamming these little mini shots. And I remember we went outside because he smokes cigars, and we went outside and we're having a discussion on whatever. And there was literally a point where I went from knowing sign language to I don't have a fucking clue what he's saying.
Just
It
because
was
you're
just
so lit.
mid-sentence, I don't know sign language.
I
Just gone
forgot it. I
completely.
forgot to talk DJ. Sorry,
And
buddy. That's
I just like I
fucking.
stopped him. I don't know if what I signed to him was coherent because again I don't know sign language. Uh,
Like you
it
can
was
slur your words in sign language because you're so drunk. This is.
apparently. I told him I was like,
Holy
I
fucking
do
can't believe we
remember
just
I signed
found this
to him.
out right
I
now.
was like, I'm going home. I'm too drunk. And I know I at least got those signs down. And then he said something. I don't know what he said. And he texted me, and I basically just left and went home. And I was about a mile away. Get home, it's like close to 2 a.m., so close to closing time. I remember telling him something going home, and I remember going to the bathroom, and then I remember waking up. It was
Yeah.
kind of like those mid
Full
blackout
out
nights, and I
blackout
didn't
night.
usually
Yeah.
drink that. But evidently, Emily in the morning was like, "Are you okay?" Obviously, I'm like, "It was a rough night." Like, she's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, why? She's like, "You don't remember coming home and us having a conversation last night?" And I was
In
like, no,
sign
I remember.
language.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, did I sign to you? I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I was like, I remember coming home and I went to the bathroom and I remember almost falling asleep on the toilet. And I was like, Jacob, you got to make it to the bed. And evidently, I made it over to the bed and I just laid my head down and I started crying. And
Okay.
she was like, "What?
The
What's
whiskey
going
tears,
on?"
baby.
And I was like, "I can't get in bed." Like, "What do you mean you can't get in bed? Like, you're just transfer." And I was like, "I can't do it. I can't stand up. I can't." Like, I was just at a point where I didn't know how to get in bed anymore. Um, so she obviously knew how to transfer me and like pick me up and get me into the bed. Um, and I weighed 90 some pounds. Like basically all 90 pounds is waist up, but 90 pounds. She got me in bed. Was good to go. But it was like, how many people have a knowledge and skill set to be able to do something like that, where they
Yeah,
can
man. Yeah, yeah.
properly transfer you to another surface? And um, I did text Jay through the next day. And I was like, look, I don't know what I said to you last night. I remember not knowing what you were talking about anymore. And I apologize if it scared you because I don't know that I told you I was going to go home. I didn't
He
text
just
you.
left him. He's like, oh fuck.
He was like, nah, you started going a little off the wall at the end. And he's like, it's no big. It was pretty entertaining.
That's so funny, man.
Yeah.
All right, Jacob Tyree, aka Stand Up Guy Live. Where can everybody find you at?
So I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitch at StandUpGuyLive, capital letter for each one of them if it is case sensitive. Um, Google me. I'm literally like, if you search that, like I'm on the whole front page of Google for images and stuff. So there's basketball stuff, there's the medical side of everything in my life, there's stuff we do here with Wheelchair Basketball with the Roanoke Stars, getting Virginia Tech an adaptive tennis program started. So that's like outside of streaming world, and then
Yeah.
streaming with Twitch. I do, like you said, a lot of RuneScape, old school RuneScape stuff. Do VR things, and I'm trying to do a perspective from a disabled person. And when you're doing Beat Saber and your chair's rotating around, like compensating for that and that kind of thing. And yeah, Stand Up Guy Live is pretty much all my handles. I do have a Twitter. I don't tweet. I need to get good at that. I know
Do it,
you're on
man.
top of it, but
You know what, man? My girl got me more into it, and I've met a lot of people from Twitter. So
and I keep like people keep telling me that. I'm like, I just never remember. And then I feel like if I do tweet, it's just gonna be like, "Hey, I'm going live again," and it's just a page of me just going. We'll get there.
we'll
We'll
get
keep
there. We'll
improving.
get you there. I'll keep bugging you to do the Twitter. And we'll get you going on that one for sure because I have met a lot of people from that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah. Thanks for coming by, everybody. I hope everybody has a great night. Jake, thank you for coming by because that was really fun. I did have a great time, and we cruised through 2 hours without even realizing it. So
Yeah.
I'll talk to you on Instagram, and we'll see each other in stream and stuff like that. So have a great time, buddy.
Hey, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, boss.